Hi, so we're starting the media and entertainment panel discussion. The moderator for the discussion is Hasit. Hasit is a fellow at Harvard's Berkman Center. He's an ex-journalist with BBC. We have Imran Khan, who's an Indian film actor. Satvik Mishra is the CEO and co-founder of Scoop Whoop Media. Uh, Papa CJ is a world-renowned stand-up comedian.
Is that right?
Siddharth Rao is the CEO and co-founder of Web Chutney. He started a company that was acquired by a media conglomerate in Europe. So the theme for the discussion is the changing dynamics of the media and entertainment industry in India. And Hasit will kick off the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come here on this not so cold day. Thanks also to the panel for making it all the way from India for this. We were listening to Shashi Tharoor just about an hour ago. He was talking about
Hasit, you might want to keep the microphone closer to where you are so they can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So we were listening to Shashi Tharoor talking about soft power and the role of culture and entertainment in India's soft power. And I was thinking about the lack of an Indian sort of global superstar. I mean, is that something which is important at all, or something to be aspired to?
Interesting point. I think this discussion started to come up a little bit more in the past year or so since Priyanka's started working in television in the United States. I think all of us who have watched Hollywood films, have watched Hollywood TV, American television, have perhaps felt the lack of Indian faces, or sometimes been annoyed by the way that we're caricatured or stereotyped. Yeah, I think that is a bit annoying. It's a very strange. Oh, it's almost melodic. I feel like
You would think one of the top universities in the world has a decent sound system. I'm just saying, dude.
it's a business school, man.
Huh?
It's the business school.
Oh, by the way, also, sorry, I'm just saying this is the media and entertainment panel. I just think that when you walked in, we should have said, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Welcome on the stage, Imran Khan. Come on, yeah, do some fucking. Now it sounds like we've started.
Very good, huh?
This is a guy who doesn't like social media. You don't even like the attention that much.
Yeah, not particularly, no.
Best for listen, in that sort of quest for global stardom, like if you don't play that game, if you don't sort of tweet and Facebook and all these things, is it a problem for you?
It's a problem, I think, in that it diminishes your fame and your celebrity and your stardom. It is kind of an individual choice. Is it actually working? It is kind of, I think, an individual choice how much you value that, how much importance you place on that. And I know there are a great deal of actors who really enjoy the stardom, the celebrity, and that aspect of it. For me, I don't particularly get off on that. I enjoy movies. I'm a movie geek. I watch movies, and I'm the kind of guy who's sitting watching movies going, oh my god, did you see that? All of that. And that is what really gets me excited. I'm not on really any social media platforms. I've recently joined Instagram under duress from my management company. But yeah, I don't really enjoy that aspect of it, and I don't value it as much as I think other people do.
The feedback loop, I mean, for you especially on stage as a comedian, it's instant. But even beyond that, when you say something on Twitter or wherever else, instant feedback, instant commentary, not all of it complimentary. So what do you do?
What do you mean not all of it complimentary? Have you seen my stuff?
I apologize for that. But do you have to? I mean, you have to just have a thick skin.
Yeah, I think the thing with stand-up comedy is we guys get feedback every 15 seconds. It's true, every 15 seconds if you're not laughing, I'm doing something wrong. And the thing is that, you know, entrepreneurs will say that you learn from failure. But in stand-up comedy, failure is the only route to success. Because if I do a good gig, I'll walk off stage thinking, all right, I'm amazing. But in a bad gig, like I said, every 15 seconds, and there's nothing scarier than trying to make people laugh and getting 15 seconds or 5 minutes of silence. So if you can't adapt instantly, on the way home you ask yourself, if I'm in the same country with a similar audience or a similar background, what can I do differently so I don't look like an idiot? That's what makes you grow. It's just the bad gigs.
Something your business, Scoopwood, is built on this culture of sharing, of telling people about things, of making content go viral. Without that, you wouldn't even be hitting.
So I think internet doesn't bend for you, right? You have to bend for the internet. There's certain rules that applies to everything that's on the internet. You can choose to sit out of it. But if you're there, you have to play by the rules that internet defines for you. If you look at Scoopwood, right, there are a couple of things to focus on. One is the shared trigger of the article. What is my reason to share that article? And second is the ease of consumption. And I think if you stick by those two parameters, I think there's no reason why your content will not do well. And that's essentially what we focus on.
But it's built on people like, you know, like your monkeys doesn't do it, but like people, other people sharing.
Yeah, you do very nice content.
Just keep your mic closer, Hasid, they can't hear you.
It's built on people like, not like Imran, but people sharing and oversharing perhaps.
Of course, and they only share good content, right? If you look at the Indian internet space, right, there's so much of content that you and me don't have time for bad content, for average content. We essentially give 3 seconds to an article, and if you don't like it, we skip through. I think, and that makes it very important that if you're doing an article, if you're doing content for the internet, it either has to be really good or you're wasting everyone's time.
So what's changed in India in this respect?
Well, catchy is important to get the attention. So I think there's one thing that we focus on, which is that it shouldn't overpromise and underdeliver. But if an article really will blow your mind, then I think that headline sort of works. But if it doesn't, people will see through it.
I mean, more and more, and I'm obviously on the internet. I see Scoopwood, stuff like BuzzFeed, all of these websites. Is more and more we're about quickly consumed and quickly forgotten content.
So the shelf life is very small, right? What we focus on is how do we get that 5 seconds from your life. If I can get you to my site twice every month and get you to spend 2 minutes on it, that's 90% of my KRA. We get about 20 million people, but if you look at it, average time spent is about 1.5 minutes per person.
So there's not a lot of
that's good by the
elite
standard. No, of course there is.
Like the same person logging on every morning.
No, so we call repeat users ones who come to the site more than once. See, there are 500 websites, right? You're not just competing with Indian players, you're also competing with international players. Today's Scoopwood's competition is not just NDTV and Times of India. It's also BuzzFeed, it's also Mashable, it's also NY Post. And when as a user, I have 500 websites and publications to follow, getting 2 minutes of that person's time is a huge thing.
What ultimately, what use is all this stuff? You know, ephemeral, quickly shareable, easily forgotten content, but it's still taking that bit of time out of your day, right? Time you could have spent reading something more substantial.
So I think, and this is a question that is often asked. I think what is substantial and what is not is very subjective. For me, a death on a Game of Thrones episode is the biggest piece of content and news that I will consume, right? For you, it could be world economics. That doesn't mean.
It's not that.
I mean, of course. So I think, yeah.
I think
Johnson was
Hasid-
back actually.
For Hasid, it's
You know, after the last season, honestly, I
think
somewhere in the middle of
he's
season
back.
5 and bus to get.
Right, so the point I'm trying to make is that content is very subjective. For me, Modi meeting Obama would be news of the day. For Imran, it could be a cat stuck on a tree. You can't. And that's the
It's
Indian.
actually scarily accurate. I love cats.
And that's the Indian millennial, right? So what is substantial, what is not? I think the rules have completely changed.
What's different now in India, would you say?
And exactly what Satvik just said, right? I mean, there's so much of content that's available, and everyone's definition of what he or she sort of likes, dislikes, shares, comments on is very, very varied, right? And we've not even, specifically in India, we've not even touched upon gotten into the beginning of vernacular content actually exploding in a multimedia fashion and stuff like that. So what we are seeing is enough and more available. The bar, we were discussing it last night, Satvik and I, that the bar has been raised significantly when you think about the English-speaking sort of audiences, the kind of programming or content, programming not strictly in the TV sense of the word, that you are exposed to on the internet, on digital media is, has really raised the bar, right? And that's what it says.
No, I also heard that you're talking about the bar because these two guys got kicked out of a bar last night. So you might want to explain what happened there.
Is this true? You want to go later? This is an Irish pub,
We just gave it a very bad Yelp rating, but we just had like 4 drinks, which is pretty usual in Bombay. And we weren't even loud. It was, a sunny, 2 o'clock in the noon, and this guy just walked up and said, we ordered another round, and he's like, you guys have had enough.
I think
Depends what the wrong words
exact
are.
words
Irish bar bombs.
were, you're drinking too fast.
Yeah.
Like there's supposed to be like this average speed at which you should
An
drink.
example of like perhaps the wrong
We're going off topic now.
the wrong kind of Indian soft power.
You're messing around with Captain Haddock's plan already.
So yeah, we're talking about some of the content that matters, and I suppose the thing that's been mainly annoying me the last few days is the poor performance of my team in sports.
Liverpool.
Yeah. So the actual details are not important, but sport on TV in India has changed a lot, right? It's from the 5-day cricket match. From the 5-day I don't know the exact distance, so I'm just going
Just keep it closer.
closer.
Yeah, practically in your mouth. Yeah,
Or alternatively, while you're talking,
Clip it
you
to my
move it back.
yeah.
So the 5-day cricket match, no one's got time to watch, right?
Still too far away.
This is the worst. So sport on TV has changed significantly, right? It's become short and sharp, and the branding around it and the buzz around it. What's new in your eyes? Any of you?
I don't know which of
I
the
think
sports men on this panel are you
everything's
asking?
become short and sharp now,
You're
actually.
talking about sports, right?
Yeah.
But I think I have a belief, right? You only watch television in India when there's a sports match happening. That's your definition of TV, at least for the Indian millennials. These guys have skipped television. Anyway, 98% of the television is shit. They don't read the newspaper, right? And the mobile device is essentially their window into the world. And I think as Siddharth also mentioned, the bar has been pushed very high. Today, an Indian youth is the bar joke.
Oh, now you got it.
No, I was talking about you mentioned it. No, so my point is that you're used to House of Cards, you're used to Breaking Bad, you're used to Game of Thrones. Why would you watch Indian television?
Some people do. They've got massive.
No, I'm talking about the
but
internet
it's a
generation,
different
right?
audience. Different audiences.
I'm only talking about the Indian millennial from urban sectors.
But,
Yeah, I
but
guess.
that's not that big. That's,
But that's like 3 times this room.
Of course, that's true.
Guys, I had just a question. Like, should we just ask them to ask us questions? It's damn boring, man. Is that okay?
okay.
I mean, if you guys are up for it, he's the boss, but...
We had time for that at the end, but if you want, we can start.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay, who's got a question for Imran?
Should we just let people know?
Yes, the gentleman from the bathroom.
Very short. I just bumped into him when we walked out the bathroom.
What was short in the
It's
bathroom?
the gentleman from
Okay, so that one is very specific to you. So when the knockout round happened and the Indian...
So when the knockout round happened and the Indian government banned the video and deleted it off online, how did your colleagues feel about that type of censorship of the...
Sorry, the knockout round? Oh,
The roast.
The roast. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So how did your colleagues feel about that censorship of the, like, just entertainment and media?
And it's not fair to just restrict it to that one piece of content. In India, the censorship is reaching quite a scary place. And particularly in the past few years, I've been feeling, as someone who works in the creative field, that it is getting more and more restrictive, to the point that you are afraid of what can we show, what can we talk about. And this is a battle that we have fought on every single film. I've made 12 films. Every film, we have had the most insane battles where you're sitting in front of the censor board and you're discussing, okay, so you can say, you can say, you cannot say chutia. What is going on? Okay, so I'll tell you what. You can say the F word once, not twice. And at what point do you decide? Okay, so once is not offensive. 3 times is going to what? Cause our country to implode. What's going on? It's insane. It's restrictive. It is regressive, and very frankly, it is getting worse. We made a film a few years ago called Delhi Belly, which was it raised a lot of hackles, it ruffled a lot of feathers. It in fact caused the censor board to change a number of their guidelines because after people lost their jobs. People, the entire guidelines were changed. There were questions asked about how was this film allowed to be passed by the censor board. So it's rather than getting more inclusive and progressive, we're moving backwards. All of us are frustrated. All of us are troubled by this.
I think I can step in on that when around the censorship stuff. I do live stand-up comedy. My comedy isn't always clean, and I will say this, that the perception that I don't know if we have to think so much about what we say, but where we say it. So as a live comedian, I will tell you this, my shows in India are far more risque than anything I would do in the US. Our audiences, so English language stand-up in India is quite different to the rest of the world. All over the world, it's a very grassroots art form, anti-establishment, anti-elite. But in India, English language stand-up is performed for the elite. So by and large, your audience is well-traveled, potentially well-read. But in a live show, I mean, last night, we had Kamal Hassan ji spoke about, what do you talk about? Freedom of expression, right? And they were considering potentially having me perform here, but they said, no, we can't do it because you might say something that's, right? So this is at the Harvard Business School, but in India, you can get away with a lot of stuff. But what happened with the roast? Now that roast actually happened a while ago, but when it was performed live, there was no problem. The second it went on the internet, as a live comedian, I can manage the context. What is offense? Offense has to do with intent. When you're in a room with me, I can convey that intent. And if my audience understands that my intent is not to offend, they will go with me. The second you put it on the internet, the second it goes on television, that audience who sees that wasn't in that room. They don't get the context, they don't get the intent, and there's a chance they can be offended. So for us guys, I think it's more where we say it as opposed to what we say.
That's very different. I've faced a very different problem where you're releasing a film and simple stuff like this. What can you say? What can you show? This entire ban on smoking cigarettes in films. Do I support cigarette smoking? Do I endorse it or promote it? No, absolutely not. But the idea that you cannot show it on screen because it will make everyone start smoking? It's crazy. Right now, if a character is smoking in a film, you have to run a scroll at the bottom of the screen. Cigarette smoking is injurious to health. If they're showing it on television, they will blur it out.
Hang on a sec. So you've got an internet and you've got sort of a young audience that kind of gets stuff, but what we're saying is that the people who make those decisions are completely out of touch. Is that what we're saying?
out of touch is one, yeah, I suppose that is one aspect of it. I don't really know what the motivation is, what the thought process is, and this thing's always brought up of, no, it's bad for people, people should not see nudity, people should not hear bad language. Why?
We are the largest democracy on the planet. We are also sometimes the largest hypocrisy on the planet. I would say this. When you see shows, everyone is very conscious of who is looking at them laugh at what. The guy in the front row, if I'm doing a risque joke, will stare at me blankly. He will come to me afterwards, drunk out of his skull, tell me how much he loved that joke, and go on to tell me filthier jokes than I have ever said on stage. That's the country we live in, but you have to learn how to manage that hypocrisy and you will get past it. We say, oh, sex and stuff, can you keep it clean? Our population is 1.3 billion. We are humping away till kingdom come.
That explains the Sunny Leone syndrome, right?
Hi.
Sorry, what do you
I
mean?
said that explains the Sunny Leone syndrome in India, right?
I think it's just that she's attractive.
So that's she's the most watched.
Most searched.
Hi, I'm Sriram, I'm an engineer, and I have an observation. Thanks to my friend Varun. We saw Papa CJ sitting in the last row when Chef Khanna was speaking, and it was hard to crack him up. I wanted to know, is he sitting there doing a kind of a data analytics? And are people laughing for every 15 seconds?
No, frankly speaking, I was judging you guys because I thought he was fantastic and he deserved a standing ovation.
And my second question is, what does it take to crack you up?
So when you're watching a comedy show and there's a comedian on stage and nobody's laughing but you hear one person laughing at the back, that's the other comedian.
Hi, my name is Isha. I work in investments here in Boston, so I'll take it to a more serious line. So we're talking about digitization of media, and we can't talk about that without talking about the economics of where this industry is going. So on one hand, we have a thriving Bollywood, we have demographic dividends in India, but we also have a country that's big on piracy. So, I mean, we have a growing middle class which will continue to watch movies, for example, but you talked about the dichotomy between who's watching movies versus who's watching Game of Thrones. Longer term, is there still money to be made, and how do you make money with more people going online and watching it illegally, I guess?
All of us in the film industry would like to know.
I think the sad truth is, aside from movies, of course, right? No one likes to pay for content on the internet, especially in India. You look at most of the Indians would want to pay for the broadband. That would give them like a higher data limit, and they will torrent the fuck out of it. But that's the sad truth, right? And it's only because there's so many options. The subscription model doesn't work. Netflix is a good example, but there are also 500 examples of subscription model not working. I think legal streaming has a place in this world, maybe not for the next few years in India.
I hope you know you're only allowed to use that F word once.
Is there like a rule book, or I mean, it's a case-to-case basis for censors?
Every single film is case to case. So there's no way of knowing. It depends on which members of the board you're presenting your film to. It depends on which day, what has happened in the past week.
But
Actually, bad mood or something. They're like annoyed about something else.
No, if they're in a bad mood, or for example, after that the horrific Delhi rape case, suddenly everything became about no, you cannot objectify when you can if she's wearing an outfit that is too revealing, that will make everyone go out and rape. Okay.
But Imran, hypothetically, if the comedian or if the actor on stage who's using the F word, if he stammers.
Hypothetically, I suppose that could be counted as a single word.
I don't think the guy that stammers is getting a movie though. So.
Hi, I have a question for Imran. we are talking about censorship in general in movies, but when it comes to a general thing like Amir Khan, for example, he said something about India being intolerant, and oh my God, India proved that we were intolerant. The way they just boycotted the movies, and so like when it comes to Bollywood, we usually don't see actors taking a stand about the social issues, but when people Amir Khan like do, and then this happens. So what is like your approach? How you think we should deal with it?
I've always felt, ma'am, that our industry is a soft target. I remember when the first Doom movie had come out. Everyone had gone up in arms saying, see, this is why youngsters race their cars and they will drive their motorcycles fast and they will get into accidents and crash. So prior to that film being made, obviously nobody was driving fast. Or, you know, we will have an item song, Katrina Kaif is dancing there, look, she's dancing suggestively, this is what makes men go out and rape. It's always very easy for people to turn around, and the film industry is a very easy and very visible target. And it is also what I would call an unsympathetic target, where whatever we say in our defense, like, but you guys are rich and famous people, so you are to blame. We're never able to quite defend ourselves. We're never able to say, look, it's just a movie. And if you, as an audience, as a consumer, you actually feel that people are unable to separate fact from fiction, you don't understand that Salman Khan is an actor and he's not actually breaking through walls, then we have a larger problem. So I'm always stupefied by this response when I hear this. And I never know what to tell people. I just assume I'm confronted by massive stupidity and I say, okay, fine.
Do I need a mic?
Don't actors, directors just get together and band together? I hear Shyam Benegal is trying something like that, but why are we even letting Pelaj Nilani get away with what he's doing? You guys are supposed to be the industry that represents that voice, right? Why isn't there more of a pushback?
It's always difficult to get the industry to band together on any kind of an issue, and the reason for it is that there is so much money at stake. For every single film, the amount of money that has been invested, people get cold feet at the last moment. In theory, everyone bands together and say, yes, we should stand up and we should present a unified front. When it comes down to 3 weeks before my film is releasing, and I'm going up against another film, I've got 80 crores on the line. I don't want to take the chance. If I don't get my censor clearance, my film will not release. So I'm not proud of it, but that is really what it comes down to. When it comes down to that Friday, when it comes down to my film that is releasing, everyone chickens out. Everyone backs off and says, okay, fine, I will bend and I will acquiesce to whatever it is that they demand. But once that film is done, then I'll stand up again like a lion and say, this is very wrong, it's very bad. That's just how it happens.
Hi guys, this is a question for the whole panel. I've been really excited by the discussions of soft power earlier today in today's panel, and also the prospect of India building its soft power. I guess one concern that I have is that when we look at the American media, or media in other countries outside of India, India is often stereotyped and exoticized. One example I'll give of that is the movie Slumdog Millionaire, which was very popular in this country, but a lot of my American friends came away from watching it thinking that India is this place of slums and morally bankrupt criminals because that's what's portrayed in the film. So I wanted to ask you what you guys think about that and what role you think the Indian media has in sort of combating that.
Good place to start, please jump in.
I've got half an hour on this, yeah. No, so I think it's not just about the Indian media. I think it says Indians, every single one of us has a responsibility by virtue of just our behavior and what we do to surpass this. So I had exactly the same problem. I was in Melbourne, I had this English guy who came up to me and he says, oh, you're from India. I know what Indians are like. I've seen Slumdog Millionaire. Right? That's like me saying I know what the English are like because I've seen Mr. Bean. And the thing is, I'm very proud of Indian culture and I keep defending our culture wherever I go. But as a comedian, I will use humor. So this fellow talks to me and he says, oh, you Indians, you're so strange. You have arranged marriages, arranged weddings. I told him, boss, have you been for an Indian wedding? 3,000 people, 200 different functions, 40 kinds of food. Right? You don't know who's coming, who's going, whose feet you're touching. An English wedding, 45 guests. These are the nameplates, this is the menu. We'll practice walking down the aisle, we'll practice the speech. We don't have arranged marriages, you do. I was in a class recently, and I do a lot of political stuff. I was in a class at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, Professor Mihir Mankad is here, and I did a political joke which was sort of censored the next day. But it's for us to stand up and represent our country with pride. I'll tell you the joke I did, which is I was in Canada, and Canadians, very nice people, very warm, very friendly. When I got there, backstage in the green room, because I was an Indian comedian, they had poppers. Right? And I thought that's kind of nice and slightly racist at the same time. Why do you stereotype? If I was a Chinese man, would you put dim sums? If I was an American soldier, would you put a naked Iraqi in the toilet? Oh, that is exactly the reaction. But the fact is, as a brown guy, I get to immigration. This officer looks at my passport, I had a beard, he looks at my beard, he says, you know what, you Indians, you're a mistake. In fact, India is a mistake. I said, come on officer, as an American, you should be grateful to us. He said, why? I said, well, because when Christopher Columbus discovered America, he was looking for India. So to be perfectly honest, you are the fucking mistake. Sorry, I know that was a little bit of political stuff, but all I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be hardcore, but each of us in our own way represents what India stands for. In our careers, by just behaving normal, we can get past those stereotypes.
Why has everyone lost their minds over this Coldplay video? There's a Coldplay video, if anyone hasn't seen it, where so basically it's a Coldplay video with a yogi.
No, we're not able to hear. That's the sound.
The Coldplay video is, it's got very stereotypical images of India.
Just keep the mic closer to your mouth. Like
So the Coldplay video is Chris Martin with yogis suspended in midair, Beyonce wearing sort of a sari and all this stuff, and people have lost their minds over this. So do you know why people are so pissed off?
I haven't seen the video. I think that there is a certain degree of perhaps caricaturization and fetishization that happens with Indian culture, which we're at a very strange point right now where it is acceptable. We were sitting last night and talking about this, you recall, where I don't know how many of you saw The Social Network, David Fincher's film. Now, there's an Indian character in that, played by a white actor wearing brown makeup. Now, at this point, if you were to put a white actor in black makeup, I think that would cause kind of an uproar. People would absolutely lose their minds.
Bollywood's been sort of doing this for a long time, though.
Bollywood is a whole different beast. So the level of racism and sexism that is acceptable in Bollywood
It's racism and sexism
is
insane. Like stealing stuff from other cultures. Like Sholay is a Western. Why is that?
It's an Eastern.
Yeah.
We're not stealing, we're borrowing. Our English is not so good for us. Copyright is right to copy.
Finally, sir, we get to hear your question.
Thank you. I have two questions. One is talking about censorship. And those of us the Indians who are living here now and left India many, many years ago, we think that somehow the Indian Censor Board has become much more liberal, has become much more open, because we can see on the screen that kissing and hugging and all this stuff, which was not seen during our time when we were growing up there. And the latest example is that one of the movies, which is the first Indian adult comedy movie, Masti Jane. Now, if you look at this movie was in the news, and those of us who are interested here, we saw that this movie was
So you're really making up for lost time, huh?
What is the news is that not a single part of the movie was cut by the censor board. It was approved complete. So that's my first question, and I think it does show that openness in the censor board. And the second question is for the digital media people here. Is
finally.
The second question is that in terms of photoshopping, so the media has become very visual, where photographs and movies and everything. So my question is that how much photoshopping of the pictures is allowed, is ethical, especially when it comes to reporting the news. Because in the news, I don't think that the pictures will be soft, touched, and things will be, we want to see the raw pictures. But we are seeing more and more, even the newspapers and online media have started to fix those pictures. So these are two questions I'd love to hear a comment. Thank you.
I'm not qualified to answer that. Okay, let me start with the second one. Yeah. So I don't think anyone rightfully in the right mind says that the editorial guidelines allow photoshopping. But what happens is in the era of breaking news, where everyone sort of, if you had a chance recently to watch some of these English news channels and Hindi news channels, they're quite nuts about who gets it right first, right? And there are some slips that automatically happen when people are pushing out content and it can't be verified at the speed at which events are turning, right? So I think for the most part, you should cut some of these media companies slack, right? They don't do it with the intent of using Photoshop stuff. Having said that, on the internet, I think internet is exactly that animal, right? I mean, I don't think 9gag and Reddit and all these platforms would actually exist as vibrantly if that culture wasn't there, and that's done with the intention of fun, and the community knows about it and stuff like that. So I think what I'm trying to say is on the news media side, I think those things happen by accident. Of course, sort of do better monitoring.
Now, is there any study
How do you Photoshop by accident? How do you Photoshop by accident?
No, someone does a mischief, right, of a picture, and that suddenly becomes breaking news only to realize. Yeah, I mean, it's just basically being trigger happy and jumping the gun on it, right? And then you realize, oops, that wasn't the thing.
That's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable, but I'm saying that it's an honest mistake. It's not done with the intent of going around with an agenda.
In Indian journalism, that happens a lot. Those mistakes are kind of pretty common.
So we generally don't have rules, we have guidelines.
I mean, in some sense, but for the most part, these are not intended, right?
Is there any study, for example, like, most of us are on social media, and we all of us put enhanced, pictures, nice looking, and we get very impressed. Oh, this person is really beautiful, handsome. And when we go and meet them, we say, oh my God, this is the person.
So it sounds like you've had a really bad experience.
Sometimes you see, oh, this person looks, bad, and then you meet, oh my God, how wonderful this person is. So is there any data that what percentage pictures people are putting is the real pictures, nice pictures, actual pictures?
If you go by my Twitter experience, I think 95% of it is true, right? So
there's no data.
Try an application for Tinder.
Next question. Young lady up there with the microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
Censorship. Well, we kind of talked about censorship quite a lot, so I just want to move on to another question. Sorry, you had one.
Hi. Hello. Sorry, I've been waiting to ask my question. So I think to answer your question about Coldplay, it's because people were appropriating and exoticizing tropes. So Beyonce wasn't wearing a sari, she was wearing a weird thing that was sort of looked Indian, and she had the Devanagari script over it that said Rani. So a lot of people got offended because all they're showing are sadhus and all of this other stuff. I think that's what people got offended by.
Why is that offensive?
Huh?
Why is that offensive?
I think they felt that people weren't understanding the actual culture of India and showing the most extreme versions of everything from India. So just sadhus, just people in Bharatanatyam dance, just poverty or all of that stuff. I think that's what people were really worried about, from my understanding.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
You have a point right now where it's okay to do this with Indian culture,
right,
but you could not do that with Chinese culture. You have a Chinese
Right.
actor walking on a frame, you
Right.
racist, racist, racist.
So
There will be a massive outcry.
Yeah, so my question for everyone is, I know Karan Johar spoke yesterday, and I actually tried spending some time in Bombay trying to work in the film industry. and I am an MBA, and I'm wondering, what is the role of business people in helping professionalize the industry, to help the industry kind of, I think, grow up in certain regards and kind of expand and become more global, and not just be known for specific movies and not just target the diaspora audience, but also kind of let people watch Indian film for itself and appreciate it for itself? Like, how do you, or even other things? So what do you think is the role of professionals in helping that?
Unfortunately, I have nothing good to say about this, because I've kind of worked. I started working at the point where the corporate studio structure started to move into the film industry, and it's honestly done more harm than good. Because you got these suits who come in and they sit down with spreadsheets and say, okay, Imran can get us X amount opening weekend. If you pair him with Deepika, we get this X. It adds this much to the opening weekend. Vishal and Shekhar will give us this much money for the music. Satellite Rise this much for a romantic comedy. Okay, we can spend 20 crores on this film. At no point in this discussion does anyone ask, what's the script? What's the story? So films were getting made like that. People were making deals, acquiring projects just based on the spreadsheet and who's in it. And it absolutely ruined the market. It is ultimately an industry that is driven by creativity, by content. Whether it is good content or bad is subjective, whether you like it or not is separate. The fact is that you cannot enter into this sphere with kind of a corporate outlook. Very recently, Fox Studios, they've been making some really bad decisions in India of late. And I worked with them, and it was because the structure over there, the people who are actually doing the work over there, were corporate guys who had come from Colgate and Britannia and God knows where. And these guys would come into meetings with all of these catchphrases and buzzwords and had not a freaking clue about what we were doing. How do you promote the film? No, this is hot right now, so let's get a song like this. No. Watch the film, understand the content, understand what it is that would appeal to people. Every time I've gotten involved with the corporate structure, it's not gone well.
Alright, so the next session will start soon. We have time for at max 2 more questions. Does anybody have a question on digital? We can start with that first and then go to the second one.
Until the question gets to her, one of the things you can do as a professional is use your hard-earned money and buy a ticket.
We would love that.
Yeah, because in our culture, especially for live performances, everybody wants a free pass, so you want to be on a guest list, and it's in our culture that how can I not be on a guest list? Buy a ticket, that's how you'll support these art forms, and the lady who just left the room will be able to do just Bharatanatyam and not have to work in the railways as well.
This is for Papa CJ and also to Imran. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a real shift in the comedy scene in India, where more festivals are coming up, new stand-up comedians are coming up. Do you feel enough momentum has been achieved in this field, or do you think that we are still at a cusp where we don't have quite the tipping point to take this as maybe a lucrative career for budding artists and who can probably survive and flourish on comedy and make comedy a mainstay, for the media industry and media industry professionals?
Should I get that? India is the easiest place in the world to start being a stand-up comedian now. When I started doing stand-up comedy in London, I had to wait 6 months to get a 5-minute spot at a good comedy club. Today, as a new comic in India, because it's a fashion, you do 3 shows, somebody takes your photograph, sticks it in the paper, and you think, boss, I've arrived. Right? There are comedians, new comedians who've been going 6 months who are getting 30,000 pounds for a show. At the top end, there are comedians who charge 10 lakhs for 1 show. Of course, there's a career. It's exploding as an industry. But in terms of quality, it will take time. Because in our profession, you learn nothing by watching, or the only learning is by being on stage. The more you get on stage, the better you get. So it is growing, it's exploding, it's online, digital space is booming, and you will see more comedians coming out of India. My hope for our comedians who come out of India is that they will cater to not just Indian audiences. They will write material. There are comedians who perform in Bombay who may not even be able to perform in Delhi because their material is about Andheri and Lokhandwala. But I want to see our comics writing material so that in a room like this, it doesn't matter whether you're an Indian audience, an American audience, French audience, they can perform for you. But yeah, it's growing rapidly.
Hello.
I hope the questions on digital media, this is the last question. Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Rutu. I have a question on the startups in the digital media space. We've seen a lot of new startups in digital media and generally a lot of startups in India, but they seem to be failing generally because it's seen that the startups thrive on funding. What do you think can be done to make these things self-sustaining? For example, even with Scoop, what would be a future plan to make it self-sustaining?
So I think the general rule of the thumb is that 98% of the startups fail, irrespective of what sector and industry they're in. But if you look at Scoop, if I take Scoop's example, right, not from day one, but 1 year was spent building audience, figuring out what content works, what doesn't, right? But this year we'll be focusing on sales. This year we'll be focusing on revenue. And it's equally important for us to build revenue as it is to build business. End of the day, we all want to build a successful, profitable business, right? That's what we want to do. If to build a successful business, if it takes me 2 years to only focus on user growth, I'll do that. But if I see that user growth has happened, now is the time to focus on revenue, we'll do that. End of the day, whether you are funded or not, everyone's dream is to build a profitable, large business. And that's what every startup, including Scoop, is trying to do.
We have